Hi, this is Adam Tice with highlights from Unbound. This week, we're going to be looking at a piece for the season of Easter, specifically Easter 2. The text is "The Doors Were Locked" by Jackie Jones, with a tune by Zack Stachowski. I'm going to give you a look at this first. You'll see here that it's also paired with a more familiar text, "I Heard the Voice of Jesus Say." And you get both in the same download for the price of one. So this is a good deal. If you plan in the future, if you plan to use the Jackie Jones text for It's Appointed Sunday in the lectionary, you only get one chance to sing this beautiful tune. But you can learn the tune in advance by using "I Heard the Voice of Jesus Say." As usual, in the download, you get the full score of both versions. And you also get reprint boxes that can be used in conjunction with one license. I'm going to have a chat with Zack Stachowski to learn a little bit more about the music of "The Doors Were Locked" / "I Heard the Voice of Jesus Say." I'm here with Zack Stachowski. He's the director of parish music at St. Francis of Assisi in Rochester, Minnesota. Did I get the title right?
That's right, yeah.
Good. Zack is also a really fine composer who has been working in liturgical music since his college days, I've just learned, and has done some wonderful pieces, many of them choral pieces available through GIA. But today we're going to focus in on one of his hymn tunes. And this is a tune for a text by Jackie Jones, "The Doors Were Locked," that we've also paired with "I Heard the Voice of Jesus Say." It's good to have you with me, Zack.
Hey, thanks. It's a real pleasure.
Can you tell me a little bit about setting Jackie's text? Jackie often writes in a very narrative form, almost ballads. What appealed to you about this text in particular?
Well, during the time, this was like last year almost, when everything was shutting down, churches were being prohibited from choirs and assembly singing. And we were doing a lot of live stream and doing recordings for our parish. And I was looking at setting texts that I knew people were mostly just going to be listening to at the time. And this was one that really captivated me. The story of Thomas has always been one of interest to me. It wasn't that this story was appearing in the lectionary at that time, but I think a lot of people were just struggling with a lot of doubt, a lot of faith issues. And so that text really spoke to me at that time. And its narrative quality to just really to tell the story, but also suggest some things about the story, look at it from different angles, I thought was really interesting and really beautiful. And so it was a tune that came fairly quickly once the initial ideas were in place.
Even just on a almost overly literal level, this story of the believers being locked together in a space, feeling trapped,
Mm-hmm.
felt very connected to where we were during the Easter season last year, and will again in a few weeks, right?
Right. Yeah. There, like that text somehow just came out of nowhere to me. Like I was looking around in various resources that I had. I had never seen it before. It's been around for several years, but it was amazing how I think it was really a Holy Spirit moment where such a perfect text just came into my sight there.
And you've done a beautiful recording of it. And I think you're right. This is an ideal kind of piece to be shared during Zoom worship or video worship. but I think it's going to have a life beyond pandemic too. I think it's a tune that's going to be memorable and repeatable for people. Of course, the trick there is that this story appears once in the lectionary, right?
Mhm.
And so we had this idea to pair it with a second text. Can you tell me your experience of uh, working with "I Heard the Voice of Jesus Say" in relation to this tune?
Yeah. So I originally sent this tune to you after I wrote it, paired with The Doors Were Locked. And you sent an email back pretty quickly, I remember, suggesting the use of "I Heard the Voice of Jesus Say." And I don't remember what I was doing at the time, but I think I misread the email first, where I thought you were telling me that the tune of "I Heard the Voice of Jesus Say," Kingsfold, that we usually know, would be a better match to "The Doors Were Locked." So at
That'd be
first,
awfully rude of me.
well, but at first I was like, oh, okay. But then, luckily I reread the email and I saw what you were suggesting, this, which I think is really, really brilliant. And in this last liturgical cycle, or really, I suppose any year, depending on if you're doing the scrutiny readings or not, "I Heard the Voice of Jesus Say" is such a great text during the scrutiny gospels, the last 3 weeks of Lent, if you're using year A. And of course, "I Heard the Voice of Jesus Say" is appropriate throughout the liturgical year in so many places. But we were talking about how you can introduce the tune with a familiar text like that, so that when you want to introduce the new text, like "The Doors Were Locked," for instance, it feels lived in a little way, and like people have been singing it already. And I think you can do that with a lot of texts and tunes, especially now that many people haven't been using their usual hymnal resources, and using one license more or screens or what have you. We have that flexibility of introducing things that maybe we wouldn't have in other times.
Part of what I love about the pairing with "I Heard the Voice of Jesus Say" is how it allows me to hold that text differently. It accents different aspects of it. Uh, the way the phrase "lay your head upon my breast" fits with your melody really brings new life to it, I think.
I mean, and that was just an amazing find, because I was so singularly focused on "The Doors Were Locked" text. But when I look at "I Heard the Voice of Jesus Say," the other, like, I think of this tune as working in two parts. There's the ba 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 part, and then the part where it shifts into the minor key with a more lyrical, slower melody. And for "I Heard the Voice of Jesus Say," that text is structured where it's first, you're saying what you heard Jesus say, and then the next part of the text is what Jesus said. It's in the voice of Jesus. And so that kind of shift of tone and mode, I think, is a really interesting way to draw the listener and the singer into that dichotomy of the text.
Yeah. That's one of the beautiful things about a good hymn tune is what it can bring to a pairing with a text. And in this case, both with a fresh contemporary text and with a really familiar one, your tune brings its own life to them and highlights them in wonderful ways.
I think, yeah, it's weird to say, and I hope it's not off-putting. This is one of the favorite things I've ever written. I feel like it's different than a lot of things that I've written before. I like the thing that I really set out to do, to kind of text paint the uncertainty and the doubt that's in the "Doors Were Locked" text, is the whole tune, the harmony. It never resolves to a tonic cadence. There's no tonic cadence ever in the tune. It ends on the four chord, and even the times where we do land on like an F chord, there's actually a G chord over it with the B natural in it. And so like I think the hymn or the tunes that really paint text in a unique way have always been really interesting to me. And I think people like to sing those more. I think whether they know musically what's happening or not, it's something that they instinctively kind of grab onto.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Zach. I appreciate having your piece available on Unbound. We'll talk again soon. If you'd like to hear recordings of both versions of this piece, please visit the product page and you'll see links to that in the video description. That's it for this week's highlights from Unbound. Come back next week and we'll have some more Easter options for you.